You know, when we talk about language and identity, our minds usually jump to things like race or gender or where someone grew up. But what about the one factor we almost never discuss? Social class. In this explainer, we're going to dive into this fascinating and honestly often overlooked idea of the invisible accent, the way our social standing really shapes the very words we use.
So let's just start with a huge question. Is social class even a thing anymore? For decades, some sociologists have been calling it a zombie category, an idea that should be dead and buried, but just keeps shuffling along. But as we're about to see, any reports of its death have been, well, greatly exaggerated. It is very much alive and it's shaping our world, whether we choose to notice it or not.
And this is where it gets really weird. In a field like applied linguistics, which is all about the real-world connections between language and society, social class has been almost totally ignored. It's like the book that everyone knows is on the shelf, but nobody ever pulls down. So why? Why is this massive part of our reality basically missing from the very field that should be all over it? And that brings us to our first big idea here, the class paradox. We're going to unpack exactly why this incredibly important topic got sidelined, and we'll explore why making it visible again is absolutely crucial for understanding the world we live in today. Okay, so before we can figure out why it was erased, we need to get on the same page. What are we actually talking about when we say social class in the 21st century? I'll give you a hint. It's about way more than just what's in your bank account. This is such a powerful way to look at it. From the philosopher Nancy Fraser. Basically, she says social justice struggles fall into two big buckets. On one side, you have recognition. This is the fight for respect, for the rights of identities based on things like gender or race. But social class? That's all about redistribution, the fight over actual stuff, money, resources, power. And for a long time, academia has been laser-focused on recognition, leaving the much more uncomfortable topic of who gets what in the shadows. So a better way to think about class isn't as a single number, but more like a web. Yeah, it's rooted in economics, for sure, but those roots spread out and shape pretty much everything. Our daily lives, the opportunities we get, and even how we see ourselves in the world.
This table breaks it down perfectly. You've got the obvious stuff, right? Wealth, occupation. But look closer. It also includes your consumption habits, what you buy, and, this is the key, symbolic behavior. And what's in there? How you speak, right alongside how you dress and what you eat. It's a core part of how we perform and perceive class, and it is directly linked to that last one, your life chances.
All right, so let's dig into the history of how this whole topic just got wiped from the map. You might be surprised to hear that studying the link between class and language isn't new at all. Actually, there's a really rich history here. But for some pretty powerful reasons, this entire field of study was, actively pushed to the side.
As you can see from this timeline, this link used to be front and center. Back in the 60s, William LeBeau did this famous study in New York City department stores and found a direct line between how people pronounce their R's and their social standing. Then you had others like Basil Bernstein and Penny Eckert who looked at everything from communication styles to the social divides between the middle-class jocks and the working-class burnouts in high school. The evidence was undeniable.
So, if the evidence was so clear, why did this research just kind of stop? Well, this quote from the linguist M.A.K. Halliday really gets to the heart of it. His argument was simple, but wow, was it profound. He basically said, you can call out racism or sexism because you can imagine a society existing without them. But calling out classism, that challenges the very foundation of an economic system that's built on class differences. It became taboo because it was just too radical, too threatening to the way things are. Which brings us to our next section, how class is shaping language right now, today. Because even though it got erased from the academic conversation, the phenomenon itself never, ever went away. The evidence is all around us, if we just know where to look and how to listen. Okay, get this. A fascinating study from London by a researcher named Ben Rampton. He found that teenagers were actively performing class with their accents. They'd use what he called mock Cockney, an over-the-top working-class accent to sound tough or cool. But then, in a different situation, they'd switch to mock posh to make fun of an educated, upper-class way of speaking. This wasn't just talking. It was a performance. It was them using language to figure out who they were and where they fit. And this isn't just a local thing, not at all. It is global. The demand for English has become this incredibly powerful tool for sorting people by social class all over the world. In South Korea, you have these wealthy, wild geese families who literally split up, with one parent moving to another country with the kids just for an English education. In China, being an elite bilingual is a huge status symbol. Access to English isn't just a skill anymore. It's become a golden ticket into the global upper class.
And this exact same dynamic is playing out right here in the US. Just look at bilingual schools. For a wealthy English-speaking kid, learning Spanish is seen as enrichment. It's a cool bonus that'll make them more competitive. But for a working-class immigrant kid in that same classroom, mastering English is framed as remedial, like they have some kind of problem that needs fixing. It's the same skill viewed through a really powerful class-based double standard.
So all of this leads to the most important question of all. Why does any of this matter? And the answer is that ignoring the link between our language and our class has real, tangible, high-stakes consequences for millions and millions of people.
This right here is the crucial takeaway. The way we speak is never neutral. Our accent, our vocabulary, our language skills, they are all directly tied to our access to money, to jobs, to opportunities. You simply cannot separate the voice from the person's economic reality.
And this brings us to the final and maybe the most important point. It is not enough to just say, hey, we should respect a working-class accent. That's just recognition. The real goal, the thing that will actually make a difference, is to address the underlying poverty that creates the disadvantage in the first place. This isn't just about respecting how people talk. It's about changing the economic reality they live in. It's about redistribution. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Over the next few days, I want you to just pay attention. Pay attention to the accents you hear at work, in a coffee shop, on TV, even in your own home. And ask yourself, what assumptions pop into my head? How has the invisible accent of social class shaped not just the way I speak, but maybe more importantly, the way I listen?